After your shelter is finished, you should stock it with the provisions and equipment you will need for a 2-week stay. Since radiation outside may keep everyone inside, it is important that you have adequate supplies in your shelter. In choosing foods, place the emphasis on those which require no refrigeration and little cooking. Foods in cans or jars will stay in good condition 6 or more months if kept dry at a temperature between freezing and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Goods in paper boxes may be kept for 6 months if they are stored in tightly closed metal cans under the same dry, moderate temperatures. Be sure they are in a spot where rodents and insects won't attack them. Plan meals so there will be no leftovers, thus eliminating the problem of rapid spoilage. Meat, poultry, fish, vegetables, fruit, and many other items can be purchased in suitable quantities for such planning. It is a good practice to rotate canned foods at least once or twice a year. Exchange those in unprotected paper boxes at least every 3 months. Don't forget foods for infants, elderly persons, diabetics, or others who might require a special diet. Be sure that you choose foods which fit the preferences of your family. Civil defense officials have sample menus showing the quantity of food which should be set aside for each person for 2 weeks. Use this as your guide. Water will also be an important item. You will need a minimum of 1/2 gallon per day per person. It should be stored in clean containers, preferably jugs, bottles, or jars with tight-fitting covers. Water in your hot water tank may also be used if it is close to the shelter. The container should be cleaned and refilled at least once every 3 months to keep the water palatable. Water purification tablets should be on hand to treat water which might contain harmful bacteria. For cooking and serving, you will want 1 or 2 pans, disposable tableware, paper plates, cups, and napkins. Don't forget a measuring cup, can opener, and matches. You will also want a small cooking unit, which will use a minimum of oxygen. A battery-powered radio is essential to provide communications with the outside world. Store extra batteries in a dry, cool place. Check the reception periodically to be sure you can receive CONORAD broadcasts. For cold weather, you will want lots of heavy clothing and warm bedclothes. In any weather, you will want some changes of clothing for all members of the family. A first aid kit will be very important. Your civil defense officials have a list of the basic first aid items you might need. You should also have a 2-week supply of special medicines and equipment for the sick or chronically ill, such things as insulin and hypodermic needles for diabetics. If you have a baby, remember to include powdered formula, canned milk, bottles, nipples, and disposable diapers, pins, talcum, and so on. Provide sanitation supplies such as cans with tight-fitting lids for human waste and garbage, and a receptacle which can be used as a toilet. Don't forget such things as towels, toilet tissue, sanitary napkins, and soap. A 5% DDT solution will protect you from insects. Remember how hard it is to keep the children entertained on a rainy day? Maintaining a high morale in your shelter area will be even more difficult because of cramped quarters and monotonous surroundings. Appropriate religious articles, books, games, and other amusements will help. You will also want miscellaneous equipment, such as a calendar, clock, and candles. A screwdriver, rubber gloves, and a shovel also may come in handy. More information on supplies and equipment, together with information on the approved fallout shelters, is contained in this booklet. Use it as your guide in planning and stocking your shelter. Fallout may be the primary threat which faces us in a national emergency, but keep in mind that it is a manageable threat. The right moves now will protect you and your loved ones later. You will need a good shelter and a 2-week supply of food and water and other living essentials. If you have them ready and learn a few safety precautions, you and your family stand a first-rate chance of surviving any nuclear attack. Talk to your local or state civil defense officials immediately. They will give you detailed instructions on what you need to do. Then do it.
In any disaster, your livestock need protection too. In case of nuclear attack, radiation is as dangerous to animals as it is to people. A good animal shelter is a 2-story basement-type barn with a hay-filled loft. You can get better protection by piling hay along the sides of the building. This gives more shielding, and shielding cuts the radiation danger. There are many more farm facilities that can be adapted to serve as some kind of shelter. For detailed information, get your free copy of Your Livestock Can Survive Fallout. In an emergency, shelter your livestock, then take shelter yourself. Right now, as you're watching this program, suppose you suddenly heard the wail of the alert. Would you know what to do? First, keep calm. Panic simply wastes valuable time. Gather all canned goods, blankets, and extra clothing. Don't forget a flashlight, a can opener, portable radio, and extra batteries. Fill all available bottles with water. Take everything to the shelter. If no shelter is available, go to a basement corner without windows. Stay inside your shelter until you're told it's safe to leave. You could have made things easier for yourself by preparing all these things before the emergency occurred. Suppose you don't have a fallout shelter, and you have several hours warning after the attack, but before the radioactive fallout reaches your area. What can you do? You head for a corner of your basement, away from doors and windows. Sandbags or concrete blocks, even bales of hay or fertilizer will give you some protection. Remember, the important point about radioactive fallout is shielding. More shielding between you and the radiation, more protection. There are many things you can improvise if you have the time. But how much better to be safe? Develop a shelter project in advance. In the early periods of American history, every family had a survival plan. When a fire, flood, or Indian attack came, everyone was prepared. It had to be that way, because early Americans lived in dangerous times. We too live in dangerous times. To survive, we must be just as alert, just as prepared as our forefathers. Do you have a family survival plan? If not, start one now. There's a civil defense booklet filled with facts and tips to help you make preparations for any disaster, natural or nuclear. Plan now, and no matter what happens, you will be ready. Almost every home has a potential shelter. Take a good look around your home. Find the safest area. Then decide what needs to be done to add to the protection. But don't let that enthusiasm carry you away. Have an organized plan. Getting that home shelter built is mighty important to you and your family. A little money, a few extra hours, can turn your home into the safest place for you and your family. Accidents can happen everywhere, to everyone. A nuclear attack, or even a natural disaster. Medically trained personnel might not be able to reach you. That's why it's important that you take a first aid course. Even in your daily living, first aid will prove helpful. And during a national emergency, it will be invaluable. Be prepared. Have a good first aid kit available and learn how to use it. No one can predict the future. The most we can do is to be prepared for whatever might happen. That's why we carry auto, fire, and life insurance. But what about another kind of insurance? Insurance that will protect your farm from possible nuclear war. An insurance called preparedness. Do you know which animals need the most protection from fallout? Or how you will feed your livestock during fallout? Your farm preparedness plan, prepared by the Department of Agriculture, is geared to help you check out your disaster preparations, to enable you to prepare for emergencies quickly and efficiently. Ask for your free copy of Your Farm Preparedness Plan. During any disaster, natural or nuclear, you may be forced to survive for a few weeks with the supplies you have on hand. Will you be prepared? We suggest you store a 14-day supply of food. Choose foods your family likes, that require little or no water, can be eaten without heating, are put up in one meal size, and can be rotated in your home food supply. Remember, a strong defense begins with a prepared family and ends with a protected nation.